Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, welcome to this episode. Today is going to be a special one talking about Social Security, because Social Security is a massive piece of the majority of Americans' retirement. And getting this right can mean the difference between having a comfortable retirement and a not so comfortable retirement. So you want to make sure you understand the factors super well before making this decision. I feel like many people make the decision half-heartedly, or not half-heartedly, but half-mindedly, right? Where they like, oh, I'm just going to start it, boom, without considering all the factors, because there's lots of factors to consider. And today, primarily, we're going to focus on the 5 reasons why you might want to take Social Security early. But as a general rule, I'm not saying people should take it early. There's lots of factors that might push you early or to delay, and we're going to talk about some of those today. Now, before we dive into the 5, again, my name's Dallin Hawes. If you're new here, I'm a financial planner serving you guys as federal employees, helping you guys retire comfortable and confident, getting the most out of all your benefits, which, of course, Social Security is a big one. Now, again, there's 5 reasons to potentially take Social Security early, but just to give you a general overview of the factors to consider, there are really 3 areas of your life that you want to make sure you double check when making this decision. The first is the break-even. The break-even analysis. Now, if you don't know what this is, you could look it up. Break-even analysis for Social Security. Basically, what it is all about is this is the primary thing when it comes to Social Security. Is if you start Social Security early, well, your benefits are smaller. Every month, your amount you get is smaller. However, you get that benefit for more months, right? Because let's say you're going to live till 80 or 85 or 90, whatever it is. If you start Social Security early, you get it for more months, but the amount is smaller. Or on the flip side, if you delay Social Security, your benefits get bigger, but you get benefits for a fewer amount of months. So what people want to know is, okay, at what point, at what age does it become worth it? How long do I have to live for it to be worth it to delay? Now, it depends on your exact situation, but in my experience, most people break even between taking it as early as they can and as late as they can in their late 70s, early 80s, right in there. So basically, when we're talking about break even, the real decision maker there is, are you going to live through your late 70s and into your early 80s and beyond? And if so, great. Then you're probably going to get more by delaying, but we're going to talk about the other factors. This is just one of the main 3 factors we're going to talk about. So break even is one. Next is, what about other benefits? Now, what do I mean by other benefits? So what I mean is, many times how Social Security is set up is when you start Social Security, it doesn't just affect your benefits, it often affects all of the benefits of your family members. For example, your spouse cannot start collecting spousal benefits until you start. Or if you have a minor child, they cannot get benefits until you start yours. So a lot of things are tied to your benefits, so you want to make sure you understand the other ramifications outside of just your own benefit and your own break-even analysis, okay? So that's the other benefit. Now, the other thing is, what about your personal situation? You want to look at things like your health, your family life, your financial needs. There's other things that come into play, and that's the third. So basically, what I wanted to show you, those are the 3 main areas that you want to be looking at when making Social Security decisions. So if you don't know about the other benefits you can unlock, you don't know about the break-even analysis, you don't really understand, okay, how's my health doing? You want to first nail those down, and then you want to start making decisions. You don't want to make these decisions before you nail those things down. Now that we've done that, right, let's talk about the 5 reasons why you should take Social Security potentially at 62 or early. I'm not saying right at 62, but just early in general. So number 1, and I mentioned this kind of already, number 1 is unlocking benefits for your family, okay? Unlocking benefits for your family. So basically, like I said, for your spouse to start receiving spousal benefits. Now, if you don't know what spousal benefits are, basically what that is, let's give an example. Let's say you were the working spouse and your spouse stayed home with the kids for your entire career. So they really don't have much of their own Social Security benefit. Well, did you know that they can actually receive up to half of your Social Security benefits just by being married to you, right? But the kicker is they cannot receive any of that, regardless of their age, until you start receiving your own benefits. So you would be unlocking potentially their spousal benefits by starting. Now, if you are in your 60s and you have minor children, they could even receive benefits potentially. So you want to check into that as well. So if you have a spouse who you can unlock spousal benefits, you want to look into this. And if you have kids that are minor children, you could even start receiving benefits for them as well. It could be big dollar amounts that you could unlock just by turning yours on early. So that's the first thing you definitely want to consider. Now, that was number one. What's number two? Well, number two is if you don't think you're going to live until the break even. Okay, I'm going to write life expectancy here. So if your health is not the best, right? If your life expectancy is not very long, then it may be a reason to take it early. However, this applies most times when people are single, no questions asked. If you're single and your life expectancy, you have some medical condition, whatever, you say, I'm not going to make it to my late 70s or the 80s, whatever. If that is you, then yet you may want to consider taking Social Security early. Of course, consider your other situations, other things in your life, but that may be a reason to do it. Now, if you're married, again, you want to be careful because there's other things that are connected to your home benefit. For example, we had talked about spousal benefits, how your spouse can actually get a benefit based on your working history. But there's also something called survivor benefits, where when one spouse passes away out of a couple, the surviving spouse is potentially going to be able to get what their now deceased spouse was getting. And if you delay your benefits, that may be a larger amount. So one thing to consider when looking at life expectancy is what amount of income is going to be left behind for your spouse, and delaying your benefits may increase that, and you want to make sure they're going to be comfortable as well, because sometimes people are like, oh, I have this disease, I'm going to pass away early, so I'm going to take benefits right away, but they don't realize that that's going to impact their spouse for now much longer, because they're not going to live very long. It's going to impact the survivor benefits for their spouse. So this is a dual-edged sword. If you're single, there's not as many factors here, but if you're married, you definitely want to consider potentially delaying, right? And again, this video is supposed to be about taking it early, but I have to kind of talk about some of the nuance here. Is when it comes to life expectancy, there's multiple things to think about, especially if you're married. But if you're single, you may want to consider taking it early if your health is not looking good, right? If you don't think, hey, you're not going to make it past the break even, then you may want to take it early. Okay, so that was number two. Number three. Now, this is one that ideally none of you have to deal with, but it is certainly a factor, right? And I'm just going to put need here. Some people just simply need the money, right? Some people just say, hey, look, I need the money now. I don't have other income sources. I need to take it right now because I need to take it. And it doesn't matter the other reasons I might have, because I need the money now. I want to get it now. And that can be a good reason, okay? For example, many people have the best health, best energy, best cognitive function, everything in the early parts of retirement. So it can be a good reason sometimes to say, hey, look, I'm going to start Social Security early to front load my retirement. I want to enjoy as much as I possibly can, the things I like to do, all these things early in retirement. So therefore, it pushes them to start it early. Now, when people have other resources, let's say a TSP or other things like that, sometimes it does make sense to actually just draw more from your TSP to allow you to delay Social Security depending on the factors. But again, there's some circumstances where it's like, no, there's no other resources. You need to take Social Security just because you need the money. It's not ideal, but of course, in real life, it certainly happens. So that's definitely a reason to push people to take Social Security early at 62. Now, next. So the next reason, this is actually, I'm not going to write this whole thing out because this would be hard to write on the whiteboard. But basically, if you are the lower earner and you are going to get a higher spousal benefit later. But if we remember before, I talked about spousal benefits where one spouse can receive up to half of what the other spouse is receiving. So for example, in this situation, because we have one spouse that's receiving a lot more, well, what's half of 3,000? Well, it's 1,500. It's 1,500. So we know that this spouse here, the lower earning spouse, is eligible for 1,500 in spousal benefits, which is larger than their own benefit of 1,000. So in this situation, depending on the ages, one strategy could be that the lower earning spouse turns on their benefit of 1,000, And then when the higher earning spouse turns it on later, hey, guess what? They're going to get spousal benefits later as well, and their benefits going to pop up to $1,500. So again, there's a lot of nuance here, but I wanted to mention this, that yeah, there is some times where the lower earning spouse should go ahead and take it, and then later, yeah, their benefits will pop up for spousal benefits, and so it doesn't matter as much when they start there. So that's one thing to consider as well. Now, last reason here that you potentially want to start Social Security at 62. So let me run you through this. So again, this is kind of a nuanced one, but I wanted to talk through it. So if your partner does not have a long life expectancy, and you know you're going to get a higher survivor benefit later, you may want to start your benefits right away just to start receiving money. So again, let me talk through this. We talked about spousal benefits just now, but survivor benefits is different. Survivor benefit is when one spouse passes away. And often how it works is, now again, there's some nuance here, but as a general rule, if let's say one spouse, again, is receiving $3,000, and let's say the other spouse is receiving $500, okay? Let's just say, right? Again, there's nuance here, but let's just go with this. And let's say the spouse with $3,000, let's say they pass away. Well, what does the person receiving $500, what are they left with? Well, normally, they're eligible to keep whatever their now deceased spouse was getting. So instead of them receiving $500, they would now receive the $3,000, and the $5,000 would drop off and go away. So generally speaking, the federal employee that has the lower earnings record, if they're the lower earning spouse and their spouse doesn't have a long life expectancy, they may want to say, hey, look, I'm going to just start receiving my $500 now. I'm going to start my benefits as early as I can because I know, hey, my higher earning spouse is going to pass away. I'm going to start receiving their benefit anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and start now. So again, there's nuance here. I'm trying to simplify this as much as I possibly can, but I wanted to mention it because this could be another great reason to start Social Security early at 62. So those are the 5 reasons you may need to start or may want to start Social Security early or at 62. Again, in the future, I'm going to make more videos on taking it, why you should take it later, and I do have some other videos on Social Security and some of the strategies you need to think about as well. So I hope that was helpful. Now, if you have, I guess, your own strategies and the own reasons why you are taking Social Security early or maybe late, please put in the comments below. Talk through in that comment, okay, what is your strategy? What is your thought process so we could all learn and get better together? Because there's no one size fits all. There's a lot of things that come into play here. And so I hope that was helpful. Have an incredible rest of your week, your day, your afternoon, whatever it is when you're watching this, and I'll see you next time.